New COVID-19 infections in the country surged past 3,000 yesterday, making the highest daily case count for the year and in almost 5 months. It seems the newer variants of the coronavirus are spreading further. The health department reports more than 80 new cases of the UK and South African variants. New infections are picking up, but we still don't have enough vaccine supply to inoculate all frontline health workers. But the government promises for more shots are coming soon. International groups are calling for the speedy inoculation of the world's health workers. They lament that the coronavirus already killed 17,000 health workers in 2020. And a virologist from the Johns Hopkins University mapped out the road to herd immunity. He says it will only be achieved if enough adults receive their vaccine doses. Fast, focused, and fearless. Here's everything you need to know to jumpstart your weekend. I'm Riza Diaz. More than 3,000 new COVID-19 cases were recorded by the health department yesterday. This marked the highest recorded number of new cases in almost 5 months, or since October 16. The health department also logged 19 new deaths and 178 new recoveries. These numbers bring the active cases close to 41,000. The death toll to 12,423 and the total recoveries to over 535,000. Meanwhile, the health department reports 52 additional cases of the more transmissible South African COVID-19 variant, along with 31 new instances of the UK variant. Health experts say these may be driving the surges in cases. JC Cosico with details.
There now seems to be a race between vaccines and variants. Just as COVID-19 shots are being rolled out, more cases of the new variants have been detected. The health department reported 52 new cases of the B1351 or South African variant. 41 are from Metro Manila, one of whom has recovered. There are now 58 cases of the contagious variant, with 51 still active. The DOH resident epidemiologist says the new variant may be driving the surge.
One evidence that the variant could be causing this surge is we've detected the variant just before cases start to rise.
Should the variant continue to spread, the Octa research projects average daily cases in NCR to shoot up to 2,200 before month end. The region's reproduction number is at 1.47, meaning an infected person can transmit the virus to more than one person.
That's why we must address this surge. And we showed a different scenario wherein trend was sort of controlled, perhaps through localized lockdowns.
In Pasay City alone, average daily cases in the previous week reached 150. Barangay 76 was said to be a hotspot.
They had 128 cases over the past week, which translates to 17 to 18 cases per day in that barangay alone.
Meanwhile, the health department also identified 31 new inactive cases of the B117 or UK variant, 28 of which are from NCR while 3 are still being verified. Total cases are now at 118. The DOH also detected 42 more cases of mutations of interest, but regardless of the emerging variants, the Octa Research Group stresses the need to observe health protocols.
Whatever the variants that emerge, we have to, number one, mask up. We have to use the face shield because that's a combo as far as the Department of Health is concerned. We do need to be more disciplined with the practice of social distancing.
The challenge now for government, says the research group, is to heighten its testing, tracing, and isolation. For News 5, JC Cosico, We Are One News.
The FDA warns the public that the online sale of COVID-19 test kits is strictly prohibited. Director General Eric Domingo said FDA-approved test kits are strictly for medical professional use and is not intended for personal use. This comes after the Philippine Red Cross urged the public to be, quote, extra diligent in getting checked for COVID-19. PRC Chairman and Senator Dick Gordon uncensored the importance of continuously testing, tracing, and treating the virus even without or even with the vaccination rollout. NEDA is urging President Duterte to cut tariff rates on pork imports to as low as 5%. Acting Socio-Economic Planning Secretary Carl Chua confirmed that he has signed the proposed tariff rates for pork imports as recommended. For imports within the minimum access volume, a 5% tariff is proposed for the first 3 months and will be increased to 10%. Current imports under minimum access volume are slapped with a 30% tariff. Chua said the government has been scrambling to bring down meat prices, even resorting to a 60-day price cap on pork and chicken while directly transporting hogs from ASF-free zones to Metro Manila. Still, supply was not enough to fill the demand for the whole year, thus the need to import more at lower tariffs. Meanwhile, 6 higher education institutions, or HEIs, offering medical programs were approved to conduct limited face-to-face classes. That's according to CHED Chairman Prospero de Vera in an interview with the Philippine Star yesterday. The medical schools granted limited face-to-face classes are UP Manila, UST, UERM in Quezon City, Ateneo School of Medicine and Public Health in Pasig, Our Lady of Fatima University in Valenzuela, and St. Louis University in Baguio City. This comes after De Vera said that President Duterte's deferment of face-to-face classes only applies to DepEd and not to CHED. Metro Manila mayors will meet with the Health Department today to discuss the proposed reopening of cinemas in the metro. This as local chief executives once again defer the scheduled reopening of movie houses on Friday in light of the recent surge in cases. MMDA Chairman Benhar Abalos said mayors will vote today whether or not they will allow cinemas and other leisure activities to operate again.
So siguro dito, pwede na ilatag nila temporarily habang tumataas at may upsurge. Ano ang magiging polisiya ba talaga? No? And if ever kung papayagan, let's say papayagan mo certain activities, ano ang uniform na restrictions mo para hindi na malito ang tao paglipat sa ibang lugar, iba na naman.
We'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. You're still watching One News Now. I'm Riza Diaz. AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccines arrived in the country earlier this week. So how does it compare to Sinovac, with the current vaccine being utilized by LGUs for frontline health workers? Maricel Halili with a report.
AstraZeneca vaccines are here, but no word yet on its official rollout. Health Secretary Francisco Duque says he already received a recommendation of the National Immunization Technical Advisory Group, or NITAG, on AstraZeneca's distribution. It's now up for the IATF's approval. Vaccine Czar Cardito Galvez said guidelines will be almost the same as that of Sinovac. It's okay for use on medical frontliners, but will vary depending on the age group. The Food and Drug Administration has cleared Sinovac for those aged 18 to 59, while AstraZeneca may be used for senior citizens.
Kanilang recommendation na yung 60 and above, ito po sa AstraZeneca. And then later, yung mga pagkukulang na mga kulang sa mga areas nationwide ay bibigyan din po. Pero majority po yan sa mga affected areas po.
In 1PH sa totoo lang, a health expert also backed AstraZeneca's use for the elderly general public.
The current EUA for Astra in the country is 18 and above. So walang upper limit ng age, which means pwede siya sa seniors. Yes.
Sa seniors natin.
However, when it comes to variant efficacy, experts say there is still not enough data to tell which one is better for a particular variant.
Unfortunately, as of the moment, there is not enough data nowhere in the world that can tell us unequivocally that this or that vaccine is most effective for this and that variant.
The WHO promised 4.5 million doses of AstraZeneca within the first and second quarter of the year. According to Galvez, the second tranche will be shipped after the first batch has been consumed. The country now has more than 1 million doses of vaccines, still short of the 1.7 million health workers targeted to be inoculated. President Duterte also announced on Thursday that the Chinese government will donate another 400,000 doses of vaccine.
Siyempre, walang ibang pwedeng i-donate kundi Sinovac dahil Sinovac lang ang merong EUA. Pero kung mag-aantay tayo, baka po pwedeng Sinopharm matapos ma-aproban ang EUA.
The additional donated vaccines from China is expected to be delivered before the end of this month. For News 5, Maricel Halili, We Are One News.
Moderna shots may arrive in the country by May or June. That's according to Philippine Ambassador to the United States, Jose Romualdez. He says the Philippines and the U.S. already have an agreement and is now just ironing out delivery details. He adds that around 20 million doses are expected to arrive, half of which will go to the private sector, while the other half is for health workers and LGUs. Now, as hospitals rolled out their vaccination drives, around 13,000 health workers have been inoculated with Sinovac jabs. Of this number, 125 vaccine recipients reported experiencing adverse effects. That accounts for only 1% of the total number who received their vaccines. FDA Director General Eric Domingo said the number is small compared to the usual 10% of recipients who had side effects during Sinovac's clinical trials abroad. He adds that more side effects are expected on the second dose as the body reacts to the increase in antibodies. Concerned international groups call for the speedy vaccination of millions of health workers around the world. The Amnesty International, Public Services International, and Uni Global Union warns that the global inequalities in vaccine access continue to widen. The group notes that more than half of the world's vaccine doses have been administered in just 10 countries, while over 100 countries have yet to vaccinate a single person. With poorer countries receiving the first batch of the shots, they called on the governments to prioritize health workers in their vaccination plan. AI Head of Economic and Social Justice Steve Cockburn said that one health worker to die from COVID-19 every 30 minutes is both a tragedy and injustice. This, at least 17,000 medical frontliners reportedly succumbed to COVID-19 over the past year. A virologist from the Johns Hopkins University says vaccinating the adult population should result in some level of herd immunity. If realized, this simply means those who have or who are unqualified to receive the vaccines would still be protected against the coronavirus without getting inoculated themselves. Let's listen in to his interview with Bloomberg News.
When you look at the vaccine acceptance polls that are out there, I still have some hope that by being able to immunize the adult population, specifically 18 and older, we could have a path to getting to that level of herd immunity that would really tremendously reduce the amount of cases that are here. Immunizing the children is, another thing that's going to take a little bit of time because those clinical trials, some are ongoing, some haven't even yet started yet. But if we can hit that goal of 300 million vaccine doses, as President Biden has suggested we might have by May or June, then the strategy of just immunizing adults is a very feasible path forward.
Three of us, John Farrow, Lisa Brownwitz, and Tom Keene, we are celebrity lodestones. I mean, we hang on everything Beyonce says. Okay, fine. I'm asking you, have you been surprised that we haven't seen more celebrities vaccinated? More of a marketing campaign to say to a cross-section of America, hey, guess what? You're not going to die from this.
Well, I think right now, given the targeted fact of the campaign, I think it's been difficult to roll out those kind of immunization strategies and those kind of advertising strategies. I really look to think that over the next couple of weeks, we're going to see a massive change in terms of moving towards this mass vaccination and moving towards ad campaigns that are really going to push individuals to do that. So we may, in fact, see some of that coming forward. I think it's been a little bit too early to do that, particularly if you're thinking about young celebrities who really would not qualify for the vaccine at this point in time.
Yeah, people like John Farrow.
Professor, I'm ignoring Tom Keane this morning. I really am trying. Professor, the greatest marketing tool for this vaccine would be to tell people what freedoms they would get from having a vaccine. How close are we to doing that?
Well, the CDC will be putting out guidelines soon about what vaccinated people should be able to do. I think they'll basically talk about the fact that masks will still be recommended because it's relatively low-hanging fruit. I know it's been controversial, but in the reality is masking up, even if you're vaccinated, should be a straightforward, simple thing to continue to do. And then the question is really going to be, what are we going to be able to do once the supply is not a limiting factor? I think it's very important to make sure that we're not stratifying right now when there's so many people wanting to get the vaccine that can't. Once we start rolling out the vaccine more, I think we'll see these pathways forward where I hope first workplace openings will be the primary thing so people can get back to working on site. And then moving from there will be things like schools and other activities that can then open to some degree.
Your daily average, Lisa, now 2.04 million doses per day in the past week in America.
Yeah, but the problem is that it's really a race. And in the meantime, you've got states that are rapidly trying to reopen, despite the fact that their case numbers still are way above where they were even in November, let alone before then. There's a question of whether we are going to risk winning the race, Andrew, if we continue with this pace of reopening. Texas perhaps getting the most publicity, but it's everyone else too. I mean, New York included.
Absolutely. I think at this stage in the game, we do not have enough people vaccinated, nor do we have the timeline for seeing exactly how many people will be vaccinated in the near future. So we've got to keep the public health interventions in place. Many states have stopped their rapid decrease in cases that they saw during the month of February and have now really plateaued out. And they've plateaued out at levels that are consistent with the high rates in the summer and the spring where we really did institute major shutdowns. So I think people have to remember that we're still not out of the woods yet. We're making good progress. The signs in the future with the vaccine are good, but for the short term, we really still need to reinvest in public health interventions to make sure these case numbers continue to drop.
And that's how the day is shaping up to be. Join us later at 10 in the morning as we monitor the day's biggest stories from sunrise to sundown. You can also catch One News on Signal Play app. Register for a free account now at www.signalplay.com and stream One News live anytime, anywhere. I'm Riza Diaz. We are One News.